coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
And there is a system and a process by which you can actually come to the end of your summer and be like, man, I am so much better set for the fall.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. Hey, guess what? Summer is fast approaching, and you need a plan. And you need a plan to maximize your summer. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And it may not be what you think. You may think this may be a podcast all about rest and relaxation and sitting by the beach and recovering and recuperating from a long and hard 40-week, like school year, ministry year, right? I don't know about you, but I often thought of ministry in the school year, 40 weeks, and then 12 weeks of summer. So we're going to talk about that today. We got our good friend and co-host, Bill. Good to see you, Bill.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Yeah, this will be fun today. So we're talking about summer, and I guess we don't usually do a bunch of chit chat, but do you got anything special planned for the summer, Bill?
Our big thing is we are taking a summer vacation trip to Washington, D.C. We're driving there.
Been there, done that. It was fun. We drove as a family. We did all of the classic things that one might expect. Am I right?
Yeah. And I just, I was flipping through the channels the other day, and the movie Vacation came up with Chevy Chase.
Oh, yes. Always a classic.
And I saw that when I was a kid, and now like watching it on TV as an adult, I'm like, there's some really like terrible things in this movie.
Yes.
But it does capture like this idea of like what it's kind of like. It's an exaggeration.
It's an exaggeration of family vacations. That's exactly right. Well, yes. I'm going to be doing nothing but the Amazing Chemistry Show. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, I saw all your dates.
Yeah, that's just for June. So it's good. It's good. I'm excited. The chemistry show is fun for me. But I'll be whipping across the country doing the Amazing Chemistry Show. Well, let's get into this thing. We're talking today about thriving versus surviving summer. And there is a system and a process by which you can actually come to the end of your summer and be like, man, I am so much better set for the fall and for years to come because I was disciplined and diligent about the summer. Okay, on the podcast, as you know, we talk about let's define it, then we develop it, and then we have a kind of a call to action, let's do it. So this is the definition. We're going to define some things. Why is summer unique in ministry? Well, it is unique. It is, like I said, I thought of it as 40 weeks. That was the ministry year. And then we had 12, which was the summer months. So why is summer unique? Well, attendance is down, but visitors are actually high. Bill, have you found this to be true?
Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. We actually call it, me and another pastor friend of mine, he's at a church across town. We call it church shopping season.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Keep going.
Yeah,
it's a phenomenon.
Well, it is a phenomenon. It's like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a long winter. You're sick of the people you're around. People start looking at other churches. And I don't know if it's always, or sometimes I think it's people have the time and the freedom and they haven't been going to church. And so they start looking for a church.
Okay. Maybe it's all of these things, but here's my theory. My theory is because since people are doing a lot of vacationing, that it's almost like, hey, we're super committed to this church. We would like to go explore churches, but us being gone is going to send up a signal. But if it's summer, we kind of go under the under the radar.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see like real data on that. Like just start, asking people, what are you doing?
Yeah. Which is exactly what they're trying to avoid, right? But
right.
At the end of the day, though, I do believe it's true. Attendance is down. Like you see on an attendance graph, it goes down, but that doesn't mean that you're able to like coast, because you got a lot of visitors that are coming, and you have to actually like be present and do an excellent job. However, volunteers take a vacation, and counting on volunteers in the summer is tricky. So watch this. Attendance is low. You got to keep your game up because visitors are high, but your volunteer staff is very sporadic, and you can't really count on people in the same way that we did count on them during the 40 weeks of the year.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, there is so much. Every summer is like that, where you're always like scrambling on your volunteer level because people are taking vacation, especially in states like Iowa, Wisconsin, where our winters are bad. The summers, we have to capitalize on them. So you just have people.
That's right. And people who want to go to the lake. And now another thing that I found is Colorado, it's this way all of the time because they have they have the mountains for snowing, they have the mountains for hiking. So it's a thing. It's a thing that you can't. Okay, I'll put it this way. I recruited Bill for the 40 weeks a year, and I did it aggressively, and we would do it, May, June, a little bit of July. We would be pushing for the fall recruiting push. Great. We got that going on. But then we looked at summer as completely different. And maybe we'll do our next podcast, we'll do on a unique summer recruiting strategy. But we recruited like for that 12 weeks in a very unique way. So like we knew that we weren't going to be successful to go, hey, can you be here for the next 12 weeks? The answer is no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really smart. We do something similar, but I think it's really smart to think about recruiting differently for those. Yeah. Yes, okay. A different plan for those 12 weeks.
Yeah, we'll do that on our next podcast. But the bottom line, summer's unique. Volunteers take a vacay, and you got to be on your game. Watch this though. Summer's unique. Why? Friend, you need a vacay.
Yes.
But blocking off personal time, obviously, it can be tricky. Always. And one of the reasons why it's tricky, here it is. Sunday is still coming every 7 days, regardless of the time of year. It's just this relentless march of like, there needs to be a song, kind of like the Death Star song my son and I are watching this Andor series, the Star Wars series. It's really good actually. And we need like the Star Wars music for whenever we think about Sunday just ever relentlessly marching towards us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Imperial March of Sunday.
Yeah. It just doesn't ever end. And so, so that's watch this. That's what's not unique. There's a lot of things that are unique about summer, but Sunday coming every 7 days, that's not unique. It still comes on. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So we kind of defined it. Summer is unique. Volunteers are harder to come by. You need a vacation, and there's a lot of guests that come. So you can't just drop and be off of your game. Well, so from a develop it, take it deeper, our second big block for the podcast, how can summer be leveraged? Well, let's develop this and take it a little bit deeper. So in order to have your summer to thrive, you need to be like the ant. Now, I'm pulling a little bit from our special course called Lead Productively. And this is one of the 4 big animals or creatures that we focus on. And the ant is diligence. And so here's what it says out of Proverbs 30:25. The ants are not a strong people, but they prepare their food in the summer. So we're talking about summer, and the lesson from the ant is don't slack off. Actually stockpile during the summer, and you're going to be far better off. Now, I live in Iowa, so this is farming country. And so all of a sudden, most farmers have their crops in the ground right now. Right now, it's in the month of May when we're recording this. Most farmers, late March, a little bit of April, a little bit of May, they've got the crops in. So guess what? During summer, the crops are growing. There's really nothing for the farmer to do. Hang on. But the harvest the margins are going to be super tight. They're putting in 17, 18, 20-hour days to get the crops out. So during planting and during harvest, it's really, really, really intense times. But in that middle ground in the summer, it's like, hey, the crops are growing. All I got to do is wait. Okay, great. What are you going to do with that wait time? That's what we're talking about today, right? And so diligence does what no one wants to do when no one wants to do it. And so the idea is, oh, dude, I had a hard ministry year. May is, in my family, we call it Mayotic. I don't know if you know what that means, right?
Yes.
Instead of chaotic, we call it Mayotic.
Yeah.
Well, and all of a sudden you go, man, I'm just going to put it into neutral and I'm going to coast. But here's what I got to say. If you are coasting, you're going downhill. You can't coast uphill. You're coasting as you're going downhill. So Proverbs 24 says this, if you are slack in the day of distress, your strength is limited. So in the day of distress, that's when you need to continue to show up. Here's another one. This is kind of I call this the JRV or the Josh Revised Version. I redid that verse, and it says this, in the day of distress, if you take a vacay, son, you're a cray-cray. If you take in the day of distress, if you take a vacay, friend, you are cray-cray. So
yes,
you need to keep pushing. That's the story there. So there we are. Summer to thrive, right? Now here's another great proverb. Proverbs 12:24 says, the hand of the diligent will rule, but the slack hand will be put to forced labor. Now I'm going to camp on this for just a little bit here. This is kind of a life verse for me. I got to be honest. I don't really like being told what to do. I don't like when a supervisor's like, hey, can you take care of this, this, and this? Okay, that's fine. But what I want to do is be so diligent in crushing it so hard that my supervisor looks at me and is like, yeah, they're so busy. Let's find some other person who is slack-handed and let's give it to them. Because Josh is crazy busy because he's doing really good stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I totally, I guess, resonate with that same thing. I would say it a little bit different though.
Yeah, please.
What I would say is I want my supervisor to look at me and understand that I'm doing the most important work that I can do. And so that he thinks it would be a miss for him to tell me to do something, because he knows if he assigns me something, he's going to be taking away from the work that they've hired me to do, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Or whatever project they find my hands doing. So,
right.
So during the summer, I want to be super diligent and prep for the fall and for the winter and even for the spring, so that my hand is literally really, really, really grinding away. Now, somebody might say, hey, when do I get rest? Okay, well, we're going to talk in the next section about the different types of work, because I'm not asking you to do when I say grind it out, again, we'll talk about the two different types of work, working in the ministry and working on the ministry. We'll come to that in just a minute. But at the end of the day, the diligent will rule, but the slack hand will be put to forced labor. I don't want to carry another man's water. I want to carry my own water. And part of that is being diligent. Okay, here's another one. I really appreciate these Proverbs. Proverbs 12:27 says this, a slothful man does not roast his prey, but the precious possession of a man is diligence. Now hear me out. The slothful is less diligent. That's first. The second, the slothful does not roast his prey. Now roasting your meat means that you're slow cooking it. You've got time on your hands. The flavors are going to be savored. And so I'm going to put it this way. This is the JRV or the Josh Revised Version. The slothful cooks a wonderful piece of meat in the microwave and has a pathetically lesser version.
Yeah. Ew. Just think about taking a chicken breast and throwing it in the microwave.
Yeah. As opposed to marinating it, sticking it on the outdoor grill. And, and the reason why is that the slothful person and the person who's not diligent, they're like running into deadlines and they're like, just cook the meat as fast as you can. Hurry up and recruit, hurry up. And then you make mistakes and there's all these issues. But if you have enough time, then you can slow roast things and really have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful result. Okay, so your summer to thrive, here's an idea for you. What if you were to hire a 12-week intern? Now, you might say, wow, that sounds like work. That sounds like more work to me. Well, it is a shameless plug, but we do have a course called Lead Interns, and it is legitimately turnkey simple. And you could have an internship set up and ready to roll by the end of this week if you just pounded out the lead interns stuff and prepped. And you can have a very another set of hands. I was doing some yard work last night and a fella came over to help me, and we said more than once, 4 hands is better than 2.
Yes,
right?
Amen.
And so having an intern could be a massive win for you to stockpile a lot of goods and a lot of ministry wins. So think about that. Now, another one is that you could mass produce meeting content. You know you need to meet with your team. You know that you need to have agendas for your team or you're going to have less quality meetings. Well, guess what? We just pushed out the latest course, Lead Meetings, and it is beyond packed in terms of the downloadable content. 52 weekly meetings, 12 monthly meetings, 4 quarterly meetings, an annual meeting already done for you. You just have to tweak a few things. So what if you took your summer and you were diligent and you prepped for 40 weeks of meetings for next year? And you literally you're like, okay, I'm gonna pound this out. Well, that leads us to some practical steps. We kind of just dipped into a few practical steps, but practical steps to ensure that you thrive this summer. Let's kind of put some meat on the bones and talk about the let's do it part. Well, there are 2 types of work, which I kind of hinted at earlier. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that there are 2 little pills. One pill is red and orange, and one pill is less intense looking. It is green and blue. So a little bit more mellow, and then you've got the really like fire hot, whatever. Well, there are 2 types of work. There is working in the ministry, and then there is working on the ministry. Now, the red pill is fire. You're working in the ministry. You are, executing Vacation Bible School. That's working in the ministry. You are taking the youth on the big summer missions trip. You are literally in the ministry. Maybe you are doing, we did a thing at our church called the tour of ministries. And essentially it was all of our partnerships around the city. We would do like a 1-week missions trip locally and have everybody go serve at these different places. Well, if I'm the pastor in charge of that, that is not slow time, that is go time.
Yeah, that's working in the ministry 100%.
You're you're in it. And you are going home super, super tired that night. And that is a particular type of work. Now, there's another type of work. It's not the red pill. It's this blue pill. Notice that both of these pills, however, say 100% intensity, but it's a different type of intensity. So instead of working in, being in VBS, I could actually be planning for the fall festival and making job descriptions that are going to make fall festival significantly easier. Maybe in the summer I could go, okay, VBS is done, but I still need to be diligent and do work. What could I do? And so then you look ahead and you're like, oh, dude, the fall harvest party is coming up. And guess what? There is no margin during the fall. It's fall kickoff.
Right.
It's the fall festival. It's super go time. And I never have enough time then. I have a little extra margin right now. And so I am going to tackle and try my best to come up with a plan so that fall fest cleanup doesn't keep us there until 11:47 p.m. at night.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think honestly, there's a lot of ministry leaders who are working at 100% intensity in ministry. And so they never get to working on ministry. Mm-hmm. They're always in, and so they never get on. And so it's hard to actually move your ministry forward and to scale it and to make it a really healthy ministry when all you're doing is just like running a red line all the time in your ministry rather than on your ministry.
That's right. And I like this idea, right, of on versus in. And the funny thing is that working in the ministry, you're on both feet. And you're on the tip of your toes and you're just moving around and you're going home tired. But working on the ministry, you're probably sitting. You're probably contemplating. It's a different pace. But guess what? When I work on the ministry, the future pace is not nearly as intense.
That is so true. Yeah. You're setting up something today. You know, we've talked about this so many times for your future self.
That's you're being kind to future Josh.
Yes.
Yeah, you taught me that. I love that, and that came from The Simpsons, right?
Yeah. There was
Simpsons.
Yeah, I was like, that's future Homer's problem.
yeah. And so rather than cursing future Homer, taking the blue pill and working on the ministry is being kind to future Homer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're building in margin for your future self when you work on your ministry diligently. And so at times of rest, in times where it's not as hectic, think about how you can set up your future self up for more margin.
That's right. In other words, like I said, I know this sounds like a crazy one, but this is something that I actually did. I was like, you know what? I am done. I am done with fall festival cleanup that gets me home at 12:15 a.m. Now we did this fall festival 3 days in a row. And so cleanup was eating our lunch. And I was like, no more. But guess what? I can't figure out how to scale and make fall festival not a royal pain when fall festival is happening.
Right.
Because I'm in, I'm now working in ministry, and it's fall festival and it's crazy and I'm on my feet and I'm running around like a crazy person. Not a good time to make changes. Mm-hmm. And so in the summer, I was like, we're never doing this again. And then we set forth a plan. But again, I got to tell you, it takes diligence because nobody wants to work on the fall festival during the summer. It's like, hey, let's go get ice cream. Okay.
Right.
I'm cool with that. I don't eat ice cream, but I could take my whole team to ice cream. And then at ice cream, we start talking about solving the fall festival cleanup problem.
Yeah. And you could put like sort of a whole system around this where you say, right after fall festival, we are meeting together as a team. We are debriefing fall festival. Mm-hmm. We are going to take those notes and we are going to organize them and have them ready. We're not going to do anything about it. But then this summer, we have something on the calendar in July, before fall festival. And we are going to pull out those notes and we're going to start fixing the problems that we saw immediately after fall festival last year.
Bingo. You summarized everything that this podcast is suggesting. Pin that. Take that to heart. Okay, so here it is. How can you leverage summer? Well, by the way, you need to reduce your offerings. So you need to strategically do less during the summer months. You should not. Well, I mean, I got to be honest with you. We didn't have Wednesday night programming. We had a thriving Wednesday night program during the school year. We had more kids on a Wednesday night than we did on a Sunday morning. We had a hoppin' Wednesday night, but that came to a close. We talk about the 40 weeks a year that we did, kind of like the ministry year. Well, that's fine. We did Wednesdays for 30 weeks of the school year, and then we took it off during the summer. And so the question then is, what could you do if you didn't have so much pressing ministry? Well, you could work on the ministry more. Now, I got to be honest with you. It is mid-May. The idea that you're going to talk to your leaders about this summer and saying, hey, could we just go ahead and cancel Wednesdays? I heard Josh and Bill tell me I should do that. Yeah, that's probably too late. If you already have your summer set, then you need to start making plans during your summer about how you could pitch that idea for next summer.
Right. Yeah. Don't walk into your senior pastor's office and say, we're canceling everything this summer.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well.
We're going to reduce, even though the calendar has been printed, we're going to reduce everything. Yeah, not a wise idea. No. Okay, well, how about this? We're going to talk now about maximizing downtime. So prep meeting content. We alluded to that earlier. Another one, clean the closet. This was always a good summer thing. Now, again, think of the farmer. During planting season, insane. During harvest, insane. What do farmers in Iowa do during the summer? They fix the tractor that they can't have break down during harvest. They clean the shop, knowing that it's going to be, during harvest, it's like, just throw it in there. Throw it in. And then we'll re-clean it in December when we have nothing to do.
Right.
So clean the closet now. Another one, review SOPs, standard operating procedures. My favorite one is check-in. You have a check-in system for your students or for your youth or whatever, your kids ministry. Like, review that so that any single human being, regardless of their intellect, could walk in and look at a short piece of paper. Oh, and by the way, Bill, got to be honest with you, a number of years ago, I had a person come up to me and they were like, hey, can you review my little SOP? And they handed me a small packet. And I was like, whoa, this is a multi-page stapled document to do check-in. And I was like, well, let me just say from the beginning, no. This is...
Yeah. I don't even need to look at it.
I don't even need to look at it. And so, like, you said way too much. And they're like, well, if they run into this super weird micro issue, they might need to troubleshoot. I said, time out. No, as soon as you hand this, overwhelm comes onto their mind and they're like, yeah, forget this. I'm not, I have parents in front of me right now. I can't look at a lexicon of your stinking troubleshooting tactics. No. And so all of a sudden, what I train people to do is one page, 8.5 by 11, front only, with pictures, with arrows, and hopefully under 25 words.
Wow.
And then inside of those 25 words, maybe 4 words are bolded and underlined. Like, this has to be at a glance. By the way, you go to somebody's website. I'm telling you, websites are looked at on phones these days. It has to be scrollable.
Yes.
Okay? It can't be like, hey, here's 7 paragraphs. Never going to be read. No one cares. Nope. It's got to be these bite-sized chunks. And so in your SOPs, they got to be bite-sized chunks. So review those and cut wording, trim it down, take pictures, get into Canva, find somebody who knows Canva. Okay. How to maximize downtime. You got to do different work, right? Here's another one. Clean your physical files. There's never going to be a day during the height and the craziness of Fall Festival that I'm ever going to find myself cleaning files. Son, I've got pressing things to do. However, during the summer, I can purge those things. Another one, clean your digital folders. I'm a psycho. If you go through the Lead Digital and Lead Productively courses, I've got a system by which you can be extremely organized, but they got to be touched every once in a while. So Again, these are just random things that you could put on your, hey, I'm bored in the summer. Oh, wait, I could just be diligent, be just a little bit disciplined. Mm-hmm. Today, I'm going to do digital file cleaning. And it's not that fun, but it's going to all of a sudden set you up for success in the fall and in the winter and in the spring when you need to find files fast. And now you're not like, where in the world is this thing? You've done yourself a favor. Bill, what are you thinking on this, buddy?
I love that. And I think if you're in ministry long enough, you kind of start to naturally filter in to do this sort of thing. For instance, at our church, I run media stuff, and mm-hmm. we have this podcast that we do. And the podcast happens in our sermon series, but in the summer, we change our sermon series because of everyone being so transient that mm-hmm. we do more one-off sermons throughout the summer.
Yes.
So we don't do the podcast because we're not in a series, so people are not following it like they normally do. And so I use the summer to completely redo the studio every single summer. I organize it. I make sure it all looks good. I change the set. I change the background. I do all those things because I can't do that at any other time of the year. Bingo. I have to do it then.
And so my idea for people in the podcast, the big idea would be make a list of things that you need to do, and you have really no other time during the year that would be a good time to do them. Summer is the time to do them. You got to maximize your summer. Okay, as we close this out, another way to maximize your downtime to do different type of work is write email drafts. This is not sexy. This is not super glamorous. This isn't super fun. You're not going to be, you're not going to all of a sudden post on the ministry job board wins that I wrote a draft email for the next time that somebody asks me a question about baptism. That's not that shiny, right?
No.
But it saves you an immense amount of time. And so writing, I'm telling you, Bill, and yes, I was obsessive about this, but I also won, and I won big time. If I ever received an email more than twice, if the same email came in one time and I wrote it, and then it came in a second time, I was like, there's going to be a third. And so I would literally stop. I would spend 30 minutes of my life crafting the absolute greatest email possible. And I would archive it. And I had 50 of them about baptism, about infant dedication, about summer programming, about some volunteer thing. And then knowing that email is going to pop up, and I go, boom. And I would copy that thing. I would do a little bit of personalization, and then I sent it off. And people were like, man, he is Johnny on the spot. What a comprehensive email. Well, I wrote it 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Because it didn't change. So again, make this as a punch list for how you could do summer differently. Well, that's kind of the angle that we're playing today. We want you to get ahead of your game and ahead of the curve. We want you good folks to maximize your summer so that your fall and your winter and your spring are less chaotic. You can actually do something about that. Well, gang, this has been the Lead Ministry Podcast. We want to talk to you about thriving in your summer months. All right, keep it up, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.